everybody involved, as long as this driver, who they had no idea what he was about, as long as he's able to get home to his wife and family for Shabbos. And so the driver was so blown away by this, he told his wife, and his wife said that he was emotional about this the whole of Shabbos, and he couldn't get over it. And she told him they got a Kiruv rabbi, because the rabbi parents were care of them, so she was moving a bit quicker than he was. But he still had his principles, he would not drive the car or the bus on Shabbos. And the Kish Hashem was the fact that every single passenger on the bus, without hesitation, was willing to go through the inconvenience so he should be able to get home in time for Shabbos. So this is what I thought was a nice beginning to talk about achdus, about togetherness and shop and peace. Really need. That's why I brought a picture of the Chofetz Chaim. But everybody knows what the Chofetz Chaim campaign is about. And everybody knows that when we are guided what we say, and we avoid criticizing others, we avoid digging down others, we avoid justifying others, that itself prevents any discord, prevents machlokas, and helps also to create peace and good amongst people. That's our theme for tonight. So I wanted to start off with this. You know, the especially the Soren Slonim, that emes doesn't mean there are no lies. Emes is a positive thing. Emes is a positive way about living and doing things, not even making an impression that one is maybe more than one really is. Acting in such a way that if anything you play it down because you want to be truthful and not misleading in any even indirect way. So too, Shalom is not the ceasefire that they have in Brochem, it's holding now. The ceasefire, that's not what you call it. Shalom is that you don't, what do you mean focus? No such thing. We cooperate, we do business with each other, this is our community, your country, and not behaving the way neighbors of Betis have behaved that way for so many years, as you all know. So that's what we're saying. Shalom is a positive attitude, a positive build of friendship and goodwill, and overlooking other people's faults, and then when some imperfections, and that is what Shalom is about. Now, not that it's for me to talk about it, but when this Maran disaster, various interesting things emerged. And one comment that several great people made is on the pictures. The papers had the 45 people who unfortunately were lost in that disaster. And they came from every type of Jewish background. Of course, they were from people by and large, but whether you talk about Sephardi, Hasidic, Ashkenaz, American, European, you name it, and there was somebody there to represent them. And the message that they said was, which you could possibly go wrong with that message, we're all brothers and sisters. It's not for us to start being second, start being critical, and it's just for us to stick together, wait for disasters to put us together, right? Now, you know, I quoted to you stories from about the Pnei Menachem, that's the previous Gerer Rebbe. He was nifter in the early 90s. His present Rebbe Rotzang is Indian Rebbe for quite a good few years now. Once on a Rosh Hashanah night, when he was already a bit older, and he wasn't in best health, and the people on the door, Rosh Hashanah night, say the Shana Tov. He had already been in shul for a very long time after the time was over, reaching every and by now he was quite rested, and I guess an ordinary mortal would have welcomed a bit of relaxation time in the family. Rosh Hashanah is a stress 2 days anyway. And the Gaboim were not too happy to allow others in anymore. So they asked who they were. They were simply maybe finished davening a lot later than they finished in Ger, and they wanted to say good yontif to this subject, yeah? So they said to the Rebbe in Yiddish, it says Fremde Yidden, and it means there are others from different communities. Now this was not exactly music to ears of the Pnei Menachem Ger Rebbe. The same were all upset at this kind of language, and he actually took exception to it and said, "What do you mean? The Jewish people, right? So we let them in. It's not very convenient. That's not the point. The point is they're coming to say, coming to greet me, and I want to respond to them and give them the appropriate bracha for the occasion." He too is one of those, you see, I won't say slow to distinctions, very reluctant to have Gerechus is what's that to do with anything? And he gave, like many Rebbes do, the same amount of time and devotion and attention to anybody who came to his door. And some of the the same thing exactly. In other words, we make no distinction, there's no elitist, there's no class, there's no group, there's no and those, there is no. So that is very important, fundamental and I think this is a good place to say because I'm sure this is the attitude in this home. And in the gatherings here every Shabbos, even larger, that no questions asked and everybody is welcome. Isn't that right, Rabbi Shlomo? Everybody is welcome and come here, and your home is our home is your home, and it's amazing how you do that. Still can't get over it. And look what's on the school every week, and look at the Divrei Torah that are repeated here, and look at the warmth in the atmosphere. And this, of course, impacts people's lives in a very positive way. So I want to bring you a chazal, a medrash, which the Chofetz Chaim, whose picture you have there, he quotes it in Shmira Salosh. He says, very unbelievable chazal. He says that even if we do things wrong, if we have unity, the Sultan cannot mekatre, he cannot accuse, he cannot get busy. He's basically a business. He's basically silenced. So even chas v'sholem, if you do avodah zarah, can you imagine that? Idols. It's a chazal, it's a medrash. And b'neihem sholem, there's peace amongst them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Sultan cannot touch you, and the pasuk is brought to quote it. That's quite amazing. He says, in the generation of Achav, who you know is no tzaddik, and they did avodah zarah, they went to war and they were successful. There was no lashon hara, there was no evil accusations, there was no criticism of others, none of these problems. And they could have behaved differently, but because they behaved in that area correctly, that is what saved them. That is what enabled them to be minat, which means to be victorious. So what is it that makes people behave differently? Is it not? And there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of pressures, and then we don't always act our best. When we're more relaxed, I have a feeling that we act our best. I did give this little talk on Shabbos, where the theme, it was a school, a girls' school, they had a Shabbaton, and it was very nice. And I brought into the idea that Shabbos is a great gift. That was a specific theme for them. This last Shabbos was that the Gemara describes the Shabbos as a gift, and the Gemara says, Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, this is a gift I'd love to give them, and please go and explain to them. Go and tell them about explain it to them. So I asked them, when do you feel the mood, the atmosphere of peace descending in the home? And surely for the women, it's when they light the candles. Because Shabbos, after all, needs a lot of preparation. And the Friday can be hectic, yeah? Especially in the winter time, it's a short Friday. But even now, this time of the year, when it's summer and a long Friday, there's something there for postponement. I remember I used to like to learn classes with him in Berechusik. And I came to the house once on a Friday afternoon at 5, and Shabbos was at 8. Everything was done. The atmosphere in the home was really relaxed. It was very nice. To prove it, I remember it took years and years and years. So that is the idea of Shabbos Sholom. And Shabbos, one of the midas that we say is Sholom. We say, sing Sholom Aleichem. We have the custom, and maybe others as well. Preceding that song was Shabbos Sholom Umavoirach. Shabbos of peace, a day of peace, and blessed, and that is the same thing. the Mishnah ends like Motzavish Baruch Hu, Keli Machzik Rocha. There's nothing that promotes Rocha than Sholem. I remember in London, I used to love it when two people, met.
Hello.
Okay, no. It looks like it's. I believe it's working. Okay, we should be back up and running now.
It is up and running.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Keli Machzik Brocha is Sholem. So we have Sholem Bayis, the Sholem in our home, there's Sholem elsewhere, Sholem in shul, Sholem at work, Sholem in school, Sholem in yeshiva, in the seminary. They're going to be Matzliach. If there's rivalry, it's another story. Now, to go a bit deeper, especially Al Pi Chasidus, so the Slonim Rebbe has a piece for last week's parasha. Why? Because it's the end of the tefillah. It's the end of Birchas Hamazon, the last word. Yeah, Oisei Sholem in Moimav, Hashem Oiz Lam Yitzan, Hashem Yivor L'Sam Sholem. And it also goes with Torah. With the Torah goes Sholem. So if we have Sholem, then we have the Torah. If we don't have Sholem, then in Torah also would be a major component missing. So why is Sholem so crucial? So he brings an explanation which is written in one style in the Avodas Yisrael, that's the Kozhnitzer Magid, in a very similar style but different wording in Oyev Yisrael from the Aptarov. And I wonder whether maybe the idea originates back from the Fitcher Magid, because they both drew on the same sources, right? Well, although they were both Talmud Rebbe Freilach and Brzezinski, actually, to be more precise. But it sounds like it comes from their own rebellion, and it goes a bit deeper. You see, you have in the Bria Eish, Ruach, Mayim, Ofa. You have fire, water. Eish ruach is, call it wind or spirit, if you like. My water, Offa is the ground, the earth. Yeah. People call it dirt, but it's the ground. Yeah.
Earth.
Yeah.
Isn't it
Earth.
Earth. Yeah. Okay. Now these all, in a sense, are rivals. The Aish and the Mayim, it's very obvious. Only one of them can win. And yet Hashem Yisborach has put those ingredients in different proportions in everything that exists, right? In us as well. Reb Chaim Vital has a whole discussion on how the midas of different people depend on the proportions of each of these four elements, and accordingly will be their midas. Some people are very calm, and some people are very easily angered. In fact, the Balatanya discusses, the Alter Rebbe discusses, what can somebody do if he easily gets angry? You can use the extra eish for slavas, for enthusiasm. It also comes from eish. And some people are mayim, that could be tava, but it could be tava for good things. Offer is in a sense negativity. It could also be a person who is much more easily able to refrain from things which are not good. Yeah. So our characters are largely to do with these four elements, and how in each individual they're mixed in different ways, different proportions, right? So what you see is that Shalom is way more than we thought. It's not just a ceasefire, it's more than that. No, it's cooperation. No, it's even more than that. It means that there is peace made amongst elements which are actually always at war with each other, loggerheads with each other. So this is what the Koshnitzer Magid and Aptaruv revealed. Now, Oiseh Sholem b'mroimov, Hashem makes Sholem on high. We saw that with the Borod. The Borod, the hail in Egypt, yeah, it was a mix of Eish and Mayim. There you go. How did that work? We can't put those two together. Well, I'm going to put a burning match in this glass of water. We go out instantly. Yeah, the two cannot coexist. One of them is going to win. One of them is going to lose. That's down here. That's in our experience. But up above, Eish, Ruach, Mayim, and Offa have to all be there. They all have to be represented, and they're actually able to coexist. Now, how does this happen? And the answer, they both give the same answer, is it comes from Bechinas Ayin. That means the level of recognition that really I'm zero, and that everything I have is from Hashem, and that I'm not an entity who should be full of his own importance and arrogance, but rather I should be full of humility. That enables Sholem to take place, right? And that enables two elements which normally would be at war with each other, that they can actually easily make peace. And now somebody pointed out to me an interesting thing. Who is the one who's able to be at peace with their surroundings? A person who has their own inner peace, and then they don't have any problems with anybody else. So we agree to disagree. There's a story that the Pnei Menachem Ger Rebbe I read in that same book. He went to visit the Satmar Rebbe. Now you all know that the Satmar Rebbe had his certain views on certain. Pnei Menachem was still a relatively young man. He did say to him, Rebbe, there's no difference between us. We don't even disagree. It's just a slightly different approach, but we're both looking for the same thing. We're both looking to do the Dvar Hashem, and to do it through Torah and through mitzvahs, and actually with a Chassidish flavor to it as well. There's no difference. And so the truth is, we can easily agree to disagree in a family, in those who running an organization together, and you're sitting on the committee. I've heard from a few great people who used to sit at the meetings. They used to listen to the various views of the different people on the committee, and then they made some kind of compromise, and everybody was happy. Yeah, and that is the Oiseh Sholem b'mroimov. On a higher level, there can be peace, never mind with two who really get on so well, they're best friends, or a husband and wife who love each other like they did on the day of the wedding, but simply who understand that, okay, there's a word from the Kotzker Rebbe, the Valdige word, Kishem she'ein partzufeihem doimus, kach ein deyoseim shavos. What does that mean? just like no two people's faces look alike, right? So there can be two brothers, they look very different. Oh, they're brothers, okay, so fine. So too, says the Kotzker Rebbe, as you have no problem with the fact that no people look quite the same. I know I've got two grandsons who are twins. For me, it's a job to distinguish between them. But of course, their parents and siblings can. But if I'd stay with them long enough in London, I'd know it after a while. But what's for sure, when they grow up, they're different people. And they're not going to have the same idea about everything. Says the Kotzker, but just like it's no problem to you that two people look different, let it be no problem to you that they think differently. And that's the richness of it. And in a family, very often, each one contributes their thoughts and they come to a conclusion in the end. And thank you so much for your input, because I never thought of that. There's a very interesting story in the Gemara in Brochus. The Belozer ben Azariah was a very young man, and they wanted to make him the Nasi, like the president. And he said, I'm going to ask my wife. Now, his wife actually was not in favor, but he did take it on. Is that right or wrong? Answer is, he respected her. He wanted to hear what she has to say. He wanted to give her the consideration that he takes her opinion seriously. But he's not bound. I'm sure she didn't mind. But in the end, he decided to take it on. But he gave her that honor, that he wanted to hear your input. And that is part of the midah of Sholem. Midah of Sholem, therefore, is a midah which enables people to live in harmony. They don't have to be the same. Just like we don't look the same, and there are two genders on earth. And so too, we have to understand. I remember my Rebbe used to say, Yeshiva Bocher needs to know that he's not marrying another Yeshiva Bocher, right? No, he isn't. He's marrying someone who's very different. And, I had one grandparent, one grandmother I remember well, and I think she told it to me that when her husband, who I was named after, would discuss Divrei Torah with her father, they would argue. And she got all scared. Hey, so there's a quarrel breaking out in the family. She didn't realize this is a Torah discussion. If it's a Torah discussion, the Gemara says in Kiddushin, as vohed besufo. When you have a chavrusa, you'll know this, Yeshua. You discuss, and also you discuss something in Torah, in Halacha, in Parsha, in Chassidus, you name it. You discuss it very lively. You don't fall out with the other person. You say, it was great to have your input, but honestly, I think differently. And now I've heard your opinion. I'm even more convinced that the way I approach it is the correct way. That's fine. It's fine. It's void besuf. It ends off with harm. It ends off with love. So that is the idea of Talmidei Chachamim Mar Ben Sholem Ba'olam. Talmidei Chachamim, when they get it right, they increase the amount of Sholem in the world, because their discussion is on Torah. I don't want to use the word academic, but in a way it is. And the Chavrusa who are forever arguing about their understanding of something in Torah doesn't mean there aren't very good friends. They can be best friends literally. Yeah, true? No problem, nothing stopping them. So I'd like to conclude with a story of an earlier Rebbe, the earliest one who I remember, but I wasn't present at this event. That was the Beis Yisrael. I've mentioned him in the house before. Beis Yisrael was Rabbi Yisrael Alter. He was an amazing personality. We can't start talking about him, otherwise we'll never get to bed. But the story, the individual story is the following. You know that a Rebbe also needs a break, because they work much harder than we do. And they usually tend to see people round the clock. And how they do it, I don't know. He had his hours, actually, but still he was a person who slept very little and didn't eat too much, like most of these rebels, as you know. He used to go to Haifa in the summertime. That was where he went for escape from the pressures of life. Yeah, not that nobody ever tracked him down in Haifa. I remember one man in London who tracked him down there in Haifa, and saw him, by the way, with a Sephardi boy on his lap, teaching Aleph Beis, if you like, a Rebbe of thousands. That's what he did on his vacation in Haifa. Yeah. But this story was something else. At Shalosh Sudas time, he came out on his balcony and he would share some Torah thoughts with those who cared to gather around. They knew the Rebbe was going to speak, And a lot of people came to hear him what Divrei Torah he wants to share on the parsha. So for the last 20 minutes of Shabbos, they would have that treat there in Haifa when he was on vacation, right? So one year they saw something, one week they saw something very strange. They saw he's talking to somebody who's at the wheel of a car. Hey, it's Shabbos. He's talking to a person, probably Jewish, at the wheel of a car on Shabbos evening, and engaged it in conversation for a while. And what was it about? You know what Chassidim are like. So when somebody was driving a car, they like filled up the whole little roadway. The person had to stop. And the Rebbe spoke to him and said, you know, that today's Shabbos, it's a shame not to accept the gift of Shabbos. No, ani lo charedi. What's that mean? I'm religious, so it's got nothing to do with me. They said, actually, said the Rebbe said to him, there's no difference between you and me. Shabbos is a gift to the entire nation, and it's a gift for you to enjoy no less than me. So I'm a Rebbe, and I have many followers. That might be the truth, but still, the Shabbos is a gift for you as much as it is a gift for anybody else. Apparently, the end of the story was the father, the sons who were in the back of the car, they were touched by the words of the tzaddik, and they turned. Whether they went to learn under him, I do not know, and he was never bothered about that. He was just concerned, a Yid is a Yid, and if we can help him and be Makarif, that's what we need to do. So the long and the short is the same as the other stories, that these great people, the greater they were, the less willing they were to make any distinction. It's true that there were stories of tzaddikim. I think it could even have been, let me think, who was this? It could have been Baba Sali. You heard of Baba Sali, I'm sure. Famous Sfadi tzaddik. I could have got books on the wall. Which tzaddik the story was of. Was it Baba Sali? Was it the Tosha Rebbe? Was it the Rinitzer who's buried in here? So a person came wanting a broch. What do you mean once? They came every single day. So the person asked the tzaddik, at the end he said, so what do I owe you? You must be joking. You don't owe me a cent. But I do want one thing from you. You should keep Shabbos. And there was a story of a person who was in, I think he was there as a driver. He would drive a bus from, I think if it was the Tosha Rebbe, it was from Montreal to where the Tosha Rebbe had his shikun. And all he asked him was to keep Shabbos. And he kept complaining that his arm hurts him. He had once heard, no, he broke a bone there or something, but it started hurting again. So no, all I want from you is to start filling. And as soon as he started to fill in, guess what happened? His arm stopped hurting him. That's the price they would charge them. I'm not saying that they never accepted money to give out at Stoker. They must have passed through his hand millions of dollars, which went to Stoker, not for him at all. So what we're saying is the only thing they really wanted was the good of the other people, sometimes in a physical way, and sometimes in a spiritual way. It was all Sholem, it was all for the higher purpose. Sholem is actually one of the names of Hashem himself. And realizing that, we can understand why it is such a high level. And he writes it in the Siva Sholem, the late Slonim Rebbe, Madreich Yuvis. It's a positive asset. It's a lack of discord or rivalry or friction. It's actually a positive middle. Just like we said, emes, especially is a positive virtue, not just a lack of sheker. So a peace which is only a ceasefire is not good enough. It's got to be a peace which creates cooperation and which that we help each other, and which means that we don't dream of firing a single rocket, that we don't do anything in any way to hurt anybody else. Anyway, it must start in Israel within our own ranks. Here it does definitely happen that way, and we have to spread. And without question, when we live that way, we will taste the coming of Mashiach.
Thank you, Rabbi Young. If anybody would like to ask any questions, you can unmute yourself. feel free.
Yeah, no, we can't see them.
Many of them don't have
If there's anything to say.
Ariel, how are you? It's good to see you.
Yeah, I mean, is this class still continuing? I mean, because I want to know if you know, like if I invite
You
people. I
just
mean,
ended the class, but if you have any
oh, you mean the class is finished?
that
It's
you
not
would
just
like
Q&A.
to ask about, we have a couple more.
Well, it's just Q&A now.
Right,
All right, sorry.
right.
I'm at the Carlbach show. I
Yeah,
gotta mute
Q&A.
myself
If
here.
you have,
We just finished
what was
Mara
that?
for Carlbach.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah. Bob is here and Hadassah is here.
Hello.
And I guess anything? Anything bring up?
You sure? You're in Bryce here, you're for sure. Yeah. How are your kids doing?
Okay, thank you everybody for joining. Be'ezras Hashem, next week, Tuesday, once again, pass the word around. I hope that within the next day or so to upload today's share onto YouTube. At that point, I'll send it out, the link to Sei gesund. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you in Be'ezras Hashem next week in Yerushalayim.
Face to face, Oliver. Yeah.
If you'd like sponsorship for the future, we're always open. And if you'd like to do for Shabbos, we still have a couple beds left for this week. Sei gesund, Hatzlachu, brother. Have a wonderful week.
Anybody?